of half the House Oversight Committee to focus on the task at hand. It'd be one of those days where it'd be really a good idea to not watch Special Counsel Robert Hur in front of Republicans and Democrats. Robert Hur is the guy who authored the unforgettable line that Joe Biden is a well-meaning elderly man. I forget the rest of it, but basically that he can't remember anything. And that is why Robert Hur was not going to charge Joe Biden with violating the law on having, remember when they told us originally it was 6 classified documents? Just 6, only a half dozen. It was almost like 6 locations because he had them in this vacation home and this rental home and the Penn Biden Center. And anyway, Robert Hur is in front of the House Oversight Committee today. Now, if you care about the stewarding of classified documents, which you should care because that has to do with the security of the United States of America on the world stage, you should probably try to stay on topic when you question Robert Hur. But there are 2 topics that interest the people on House Oversight. The Republicans, Jim Jordan, Thomas Massie, they want to talk to Robert Hur about what his interview with Joe Biden reflected about Joe Biden's cognitive abilities. That's kind of important too, because he is the president of the United States. He has nuclear codes. His cognitive abilities are certainly being watched every single day by Vladimir Putin and by Xi Jinping and the Ayatollah in Iran and everyone else around the world. The Democrats, well, I mean, they saw all they needed to see out of Joe Biden when he was hammered on Ritalin or Adderall the night of the State of the Union. And so they have turned this questioning of Robert Hur into a referendum on Donald Trump's inability to serve. So when the idiots like Hank Johnson, who was afraid that Guam would sink, remember? Jamie Raskin, Jerry Nadler, who, by the way, speaking of being compromised cognitively, Jerry Nadler would be Exhibit A, and physically too. They just talk about Trump, orange man bad, mean orange bad. That's what this is going to be today. So it's going to be an eminently frustrating day today. And maybe that's fitting because here in Ohio, we have the eminently frustrating governor, Mike DeWine, deciding that he just can't stay quiet in the U.S. Senate primary, which for as bad a governor as Mike DeWine is, I shouldn't be surprised, but I am chagrined. Yesterday, Mike DeWine and Fran, because they're a team, of course. You didn't know we elected Fran when we elected Mike, but we did. Re-elected Mike, that is. In a letter to Ohioans, man, props for the modernity of your reaching out to the electorate, Mike. Why didn't you just send a fax or maybe, a missive via Pony Express? In a letter to Ohioans, Mike DeWine has endorsed Mike DeWine for the U.S. Senate. You say, wait a minute, he can't be governor and senator. He's already been a senator. Yes, but he can endorse the guy who's most like him. Rhino's going to rhino, establishment going to establishment, squish is going to squish. And so in what is the least shocking and hopefully least impactful endorsement of all time, Ohio Governor Mike DeWine has endorsed Matt Dolan for the U.S. Senate. Of course he has. Rob Portman endorsed Matt Dolan. Rob Portman, who was against giving equal protection to the LGBTQ community before Rob Portman found out that Rob Portman's son was gay. And then all of a sudden it caused him to re-examine the issue because that's what we really want politicians to do, isn't it? We want them to bring their personal interest to an issue, not the viewpoint of the electorate. That's what we really want. So we got Rob Portman endorsing Matt Dolan, and now we have Mike DeWine endorsing Matt Dolan and doing it via letter, co-signed by Fran DeWine, because everybody was wondering who Fran was going to endorse. I was wondering whether she was going to endorse chocolate chip cookies over snickerdoodles, but I guess she's qualified to weigh in on the U.S. Senate race. So 1 week before the election, 2 weeks after saying he would not endorse anyone in the Senate race. Mike DeWine said this. Well, this is what he said last month. My focus this year is going to be on the Senate race and waiting to see who the Republican voters in Ohio select to run for the United States Senate. Once that is decided, I'm going to do whatever I can. See, I told you he was a closet Democrat. I'm going to do whatever I can to help that candidate be elected to the Senate. Republican control of the Senate is very important. Well, now Mr. DeWine has changed his tune, changed his tack. And here's what his letter said in part. Matt Dolan has a vision for the future. He listens, he fights, and he knows how to get results for Ohio. First of all, Matt Dolan is the worst choice in this race. He is not an authentic conservative. He is not on board with the candidacy of Donald Trump. And you know, I've had my own issues with Donald Trump's candidacy. I preferred Ron DeSantis to Donald Trump, but I will support Donald Trump because he's not Joe Biden, because he doesn't have a bloodlust to kill innocent unborn children, because he doesn't allow unfettered access to the United States of America via our southern border, because he doesn't hate domestic energy production, because we didn't have inflation under Donald Trump, and now we have inflation that's nearly back up to 4%, which shows that inflation has plateaued and that everything Joe Biden says about Bidenomics working is a flat out lie. That is why I will support Donald Trump, among many other reasons. But how problematic is it going to be if Matt Dolan wins the primary in March and Matt Dolan is running against Sherrod Brown, and as we run up to the general election in November, we have a Senate candidate on the Republican side who will not say one nice thing, one good thing about Donald Trump. Now, I don't necessarily think Ohio is in play, but you certainly want your U.S. Senate candidate in a year where you're trying to take back the U.S. Senate and kick out Sherrod Brown, who's a career politician. He's never had another job outside of politics. I met Sherrod Brown when he was barely old enough to run for the Ohio House. He's been in politics ever since. Mike DeWine is, of course, endorsing Matt Dolan because Matt Dolan is the candidate in this race most like Mike DeWine. But it is the worst move for the state, for the electorate, in terms of A, taking back the Senate, and B, carrying the state of Ohio for the Republican Party in the general election in November, which I presume, and I have to presume because this is such a stupid thing for Mike DeWine to do, I presume that that is still Mike DeWine's desire for Ohio's electoral votes to go to Donald Trump and not to Joe Biden. So that is where we are with politics nationally and locally. We'll play you what Robert Hur had to say in front of House Oversight this morning, and Jim Jordan's opening comment, and lots of analysis on that as we work our way through our day. There's an update on the child discovered overnight locked inside a Target store on the Far East Side. It was reported yesterday by every outlet in town that he was 7 years old. He is, in fact, 12 years old, and he had been in the store since it closed at 10 o'clock Sunday night. He apparently ran away from home, and his parents were at least distraught enough to file a missing persons report for him Sunday night. They picked him up from Franklin County Children's Services yesterday, and they will not be charged. So drama in the home, but certainly all restored. And certainly identify with the anxiety that the parents would feel in that situation, given the fact that their son spent the night in a Target store. Very strange. We had an Amber Alert on our phones yesterday. 17-year-old girl and her 1-year-old daughter. This one ended a lot more happily than the 5-year-old boy about a month ago. The 17-year-old girl and her 1-year-old daughter have been found safe, and they came from the Cincinnati area. They were located near Akron. They were believed to have been found in the company of the father, who is 22, and he has had a past. I'm trying to be careful how I say this. He's had a past where there was a suggestion that his presence in their life indicated, in this instance, that they might be in danger. The woman does not speak English, and so there was just a lot of confusion there, and thankfully law enforcement erred on the side of being safe rather than sorry, but the two have been returned safely, or have been found and are safe, and that is a very, very good thing. Okay, so we are off and running on a Tuesday edition of the Bruce Hooley Show. We will have more on Robert Hur's appearance before House Oversight, all the analysis and insight into that next here on 98.9 The Answer.
With partly sunny skies and a high 67. A few clouds around tonight with a low 45. Partial sunshine for tomorrow with a high 69. Mild tomorrow night, quite cloudy with a low of 50. Thursday, warm and breezy with sun and areas of high clouds in the morning.
Wedged in here anymore.
Cloudiness and an afternoon shower in spots with a high 69. I'm Gregory Patrick on 98.9 FM, The Answer.
Starting in left field, Hooley Moreno.
Here we go with the negative ads. More negative ads. Man, I'm sick of these. Sick.
From 2014 to 2020, he sat on the board of a foundation that gave over $2 million to Planned Parenthood, a leading abortion provider, and other radical abortion rights and transgender groups. Then Bernie Moreno moved to right field and recently wrote a big check to a pro-life committee opposing abortion. Bernie Moreno, all over the ballpark. Bernie Moreno, shamelessly trying to make pro-life Republicans think he is one of us. But Frank LaRose is a proven home run hitter for pro-life and our Ohio family values. On March 19th, pro-life voters have only one real choice for U.S. Senate in the Ohio Republican primary. Elect Frank LaRose. Proven courage. Paid for by Patriotic Veterans, Inc., a 501c4 committee not coordinated with any candidate or campaign committee. For over 30 years, the Gentle Dentist has been making patients smile.
The Gentle Dentist is the only one that I have found that does not give me anxiety every time I have an appointment coming up. They are always so kind and professional, and I have never felt judged by them. I moved 2 hours away, but still find myself driving back. They're that good.
How can we make you smile? The Gentle Dentist. Call 614-431-3311.
You know, everyone goes to bed, but not everyone goes to sleep. Like many, I have a fairly demanding schedule, right? It's important I get a great night's sleep. I want to be sharp and at my very best. Sleep is something that I used to struggle with. I had tried a number of products to help, but I began searching for a natural solution. Well, I found it from some old friends, Relief Factor. I was at the Relief Factor headquarters, and I learned all about Sleep by Relief Factor. It has been a godsend for me. With Sleep by Relief Factor, I'm finally getting the best night's sleep of my life. I wake up refreshed. I'm never groggy. I feel the difference every single day. I urge you to check out Sleep by Relief Factor. Get your first bottle of Sleep for only $19.95. You'll sleep better, feel better, and get more rest. Call 800-4-RELIEF to order now. Or you can go to relieffactor.com/sleep. Call 800-4-RELIEF. That's 800-4-RELIEF, or go to relieffactor.com/sleep. If it can help me, there's a good chance it'll help you. Invest in yourself. Invest in peace of mind.
Sheila Jackson Lee, chief moron.
Finally caught up with Louis.
Along with who's the rep from the Virgin Islands? And she's a piece of work. And Jamie Raskin and Jerry Nadler and Hank Johnson. Morons. Oh, when are we going to demand better leaders? On both sides, by the way. Jordan's good. Trump's flawed. Yeah. And get the leaders you demand. You can trust.
Call Optima now for a free consultation.
Thankfully, hopefully we'll get Bernie Moreno. Good man.
Call 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433. Optima Tax Relief. Testimonial from an actual client. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
All right. You need flooring? Sure you do. Spring is coming. A nice remodel would be great. Hey, have you thought about LVP? Say, I don't even know what that stands for. Well, it stands for luxury vinyl plank, and I can hook you up. Soft step carpet in Plain City. We have luxury vinyl plank. We have all the major brands. Looks like wood, won't dent, won't scratch. In fact, many of the samples that we have come from the manufacturer with a wire brush. Now, why do you think they do that? Because they know that you're worried about it scratching. So they give you a wire brush to see if you can scratch it, and you can't. It's durable, it's waterproof. It'll last lifetime warranty on residential. Amazing. Oh, did I mention the carpet? Yes, we have every single major brand you're looking for. Shaw, Anderson, Dreamweaver, you name it, we've got it. We'll get it installed inside a month. Your home will look beautiful and you'll save money. Soft step carpet in Plain City on Route 161, just down from Costco. Get a hold of me. Go to brucehooley.com, fill out the flooring form, and I'll reach out. Come measure your space. We'll get to know each other and we'll get you hooked up. Or you can email me, brucehooley@gmail.com. Soft step carpet in Plain City. Oh, it'll be quite a show. It's underway in Washington. We just had Sheila Jackson Lee. She's one of the chief Democratic buffoons. Can't wait for Hank Johnson. Can't wait for the woman from the U.S. Virgin Islands. Nadler's already had his turn. Raskin's already had his turn. And now we have a clown from our own side of the aisle, Matt Gaetz. Very big clown. We've got to demand better leaders. We've just got to demand it. And some of these people in these roles, it's so frustrating to me to watch them. And I know I frustrate you because I'm not as fully on board with some of the people that wear the Republican label as you'd like for me to be. But I just want people who give me the sense, and this goes back to, like, let's just take for example somebody who's not a preener and a poser like Matt Gaetz. Let's go back to Katie Britt, the Alabama senator, who gave this response to the State of the Union address. And my problem with Katie Britt was it was breathy and dramatic and way too over the top. Just sit there, just talk to me, okay? Just talk to me like a real person. Raskin, Nadler, you're there to talk to Robert Hur about his investigation of the president. You don't like the fact that he said the president's a well-meaning elderly man with a bad memory. Okay, question him about that. Instead, when these two knuckleheads get the floor, it's all about Donald Trump, Donald Trump, Donald Trump. But Donald Trump's not the topic. Like, I know you can't wait to put Donald Trump in jail. You can't wait to ruin his businesses. Could you stay on topic? Like, Robert Hur's got to be sitting there going, what am I doing here? Like, I didn't investigate Donald Trump. I'm not Jack Smith, okay? So we've got the transcripts of Robert Hur's interview with Joe Biden, from which came the very funny line that Biden was basically a mental zero. And we, of course, also had Biden doing a press conference where he was so mad that Robert Hur asked him about, and I quote, how in the hell dare he raise that? Meaning when Beau Biden died. And the transcripts prove what's previously been reported since that Biden angry press conference, that Joe Biden is the one who brought up Beau Biden, and that Joe Biden couldn't answer the year in which his son died. Now, I don't find it implausible that someone could forget the year that someone close to them died. I know there are a lot of people who say, oh, you would never forget that. No, I find it plausible that you could forget that if it's 9-10 years ago. You might get it off by a year or so. But the way Joe Biden phrased it, in response to a question from Robert Hur about what he was doing or planned to do once Donald Trump took office, this is how Biden answered it. I hadn't at this point walked away from the idea that I might run for office again. But if I ran again, I'd be running for president. And so what was happening, though? What month did Beau die? So the Beau Biden thing came out of the woods. Like, they weren't even talking about Beau Biden. They were talking about Joe Biden's plans and whether he's going to run for office again, because Hur cares about, why do you have classified documents? Like, if you're done in politics, why are you holding on to classified documents? That's why he's asking about the classified documents. And Biden says, what month did Beau die? Two people, this is the next line, two people at the interview chimed in and said it was 2015, after which Biden said, was it 2015 he died? And one of his two, protectors said it was May of 2015. Okay, but that's not the really funny part. The really funny part, and there are many of them, he forgot He said, I don't remember. I don't know. I have no idea how classified documents ended up on my properties. Some variation of that 44 times in the interview. 44 times. But here's, and one of the things that comes out in the transcript is that Biden said that he himself had to physically move the boxes. And you've seen the pictures of the classified documents, the infamous ripped cardboard box. That Joe Biden said he had to physically move those classified documents himself in order to make room in his garage for his Corvette. In order to make room in his garage for his Corvette. And I'm going to read you right from the transcript, okay? This is the President of the United States, ladies and gentlemen. He has the nuclear codes. I'm reading from the transcript. Once, while lamenting that he could drive his vintage Chevrolet Corvette only the length of his driveway. What? Like, you know how when your parents get old, you take the keys away from them? That's what it sounds like it happened here. That they took the keys away from the man. He can't drive his Corvette on the highway, but he can be president. Then there was a lengthy exchange over the torque of electric vehicles. You've seen Biden drive like these electric Ford F-150s and whatever. So here's Robert Hur. He's there to talk about classified documents. He's talking about classified documents in Biden's garage. And Biden's like, hey, I had to move those so I could get my Corvette in the garage. And now, oh, Joe Biden can't stay on topic. We're here to talk about classified documents, Mr. President. Oh, wait, you brought up my Corvette. Hey, did I ever tell you how cool it is to drive an electric vehicle? So Biden goes, by the way, you know how those work. It's really cool. Her remarks, sir, I would love to hear much more about this, but I do have a few more questions to get through. Biden interrupts. You step your foot on the accelerator all the way down until it gets about 6 or 7 grand. I presume he means like on the tachometer. Then all of a sudden it will say launch. All you do is take your foot off the brake. Then Joe Biden made what is described in the transcript as a car sound. So he's describing the torque of an electric vehicle, and he goes, the President of the United States. And then everyone in the room laughs. And Robert Hur, for whom this is no doubt decidedly awkward, says, well, that's on my bucket list, before bringing Biden back on topic to ask him more about the classified documents. That's Joe. That's the attention span of the man who wants to be president for more years.
News. Rich Thomason.
Incredible.
FBI Director Christopher Wray has told the Senate committee there's a whole host of threats that emanate from the border. He warns that prison gangs and Islamic terrorists are among those exploiting the wide-open southern border. This is a pivotal day in the race for the White House, a day that Donald Trump and Joe Biden expect to clinch their respective parties' presidential nominations. A group of Democrat donors amassing a $239 million fund aimed at protecting 7 Democrat-held Senate seats that Republicans are hoping to flip in November. Not even able to return to his country because of gang violence, Haiti's Prime Minister Ariel Henry has announced his plans to resign. And the Russian Defense Ministry says a military transport plane with 15 people on board crashed on takeoff at an air base in western Russia. Wall Street, the Dow up 213 points. This is SRN.
The FedNow system is paving the way for the digital dollar. It grants the government unprecedented access to your financial transactions. This isn't just an invasion of privacy, it's a direct assault on your liberty and hard-earned money. It's another reason why I recommend physical gold IRAs from the Birch Gold Group. I'm Lance Wallnow. I'm a news analyst and a podcaster with nearly 25 million downloads to people just like you who cherish their financial independence. A precious metals IRA can help you avoid the scrutiny of Big Brother while also preserving your retirement savings through almost anything, including economic crashes, political instability, and even hyperinflation. To find out more, get your free info kit on gold IRAs by texting the word FAITH to 989898. Birch Gold Group is the only gold company I trust. Get their free info kit and see how a gold IRA can help you. Text FAITH to 989898. Remember, there's no strings attached. Text FAITH to the number 989898 right now, and I pray you're blessed with continued
News, opinion, passion. Here, 98.9 FM, The Answer. Anywhere you go, with The Answer's mobile app at 98.9theanswer.com. Also on your smart speakers, TuneIn or iHeart. All rise. In a Massachusetts courtroom, the judge concluded that the defendant shredded evidence in the case. The defendant, Bernie Marino, who was sued for stealing his employees' pay. So before the trial, Marino shredded the evidence against him. Shadiness is a pattern with Marino, who quietly supported amnesty for millions of illegals, but now pretends otherwise. You can tell a lot about someone's character by what he does when no one's watching. Bernie Marino flunks that test. And Secretary of State Frank LaRose is no better. LaRose quietly spent your tax dollars to benefit himself politically. And LaRose changed Ohio's ballot language to affect the election results. It was a breach of public trust. Bernie Marino and Frank LaRose, if they're this sneaky and corrupt in Ohio, just imagine if they go to Washington. Buckeye Leadership Fund paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertising, not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee. BuckeyesFeed.org.
Headmaster Hull here from Dublin Classical Academy. At Dublin Classical Academy, we have the tuition-free solution to relieve confusion about the current public education system. Dublin Classical Academy is the first Hillsdale College-supported tuition-free school in Central Ohio. It's a content-rich, classical liberal arts education that includes instruction on moral character and civic virtue. Visit dublinclassical.com for more on how to enroll your child for free at Dublin Classical Academy. Dublin Classical Academy, classical education, tuition-free.
He's the voice of a new generation, willing to fight for what's right and the greatest country ever conceived. He's Charlie Kirk. And
Back in a moment.
Days from 5 to 7.
Soon.
News, opinion. 98.9 FM. The Answer.
Well, it's going to get warm today and warmer tomorrow, I hear. And we are getting perilously close to grilling weather. And there you are with your Traeger or your other grill of choice all ready to go. And you're stuck without USDA prime and choice beef. It'd be your fault because I've already told you all about riverbendranchsteaks.com/Bruce Hooley and how you can get USDA choice and prime steaks, ribeyes, New York strip, filet mignon, delivered right to your front door and like the best beef you've ever tasted. Because why? It has no hormones, no antibiotics ever. It comes from one ranch, controlled from birth to the time it's butchered, and it's not trucked to market somewhere. The $160 million processing plant is built on the one ranch where all this beef comes from. I'm telling you, it is tremendous. I love it. You'll love it. Delivered right to your door. Order every month or every other month. riverbendranchsteaks.com/Bruce Hooley. riverbendranchsteaks.com/Bruce Hooley. Okay, let's delve into the craziness in Washington. Robert Hur, special counsel. He will, I was going to say he will be vilified today by Democrats. He was already vilified by Democrats before he got there. And the smear machine never takes a break. There is a media outlet, a left-wing media outlet, The Independent, that published a story overnight citing only anonymous sources that said Robert Hur has resigned from the Justice Department so that he could appear before House Oversight today as a private citizen and thus would not be bound by Justice Department regulations, and that he had hired attorneys who are also working for Donald Trump. So that's what we heard in the beginning when Hur explained why he was not charging Joe Biden for having classified documents here, there, and everywhere. Hur said, well, the jury will find him sympathetic because he's, elderly and old, and he'll just act infirm, and his attorneys probably won't let him take the stand, and so there's no point in prosecuting him because we can't get a guilty verdict. Doesn't stop Franklin County, by the way, from going after Jason Meade a second time. But at least Robert Hur saving us a few bucks so Joe Biden can waste it on some DEI initiative elsewhere in the government, no doubt. So they're smeared Hur because he told the truth about Biden, and we all see it. Angry old Joe up there screaming and yelling, pupils, black as total darkness from the Adderall or whatever other drug he's on. And now Hur is there in front of House Oversight to testify. And here was Jim Jordan, the chairman of this subcommittee. It's actually not House Oversight because that's Massey's the chair of that. I don't think Jordan is not the chair of this one, but it's some kind of a House subcommittee that he's in front of today. And here is Jim Jordan's opening statement before turning the microphone over to Robert Hur.
Information he wasn't to keep, and he not only failed to secure that information properly, he also shared it with people who weren't allowed to see it. Shared that information with his ghostwriter. And remember, this is information that only individuals with the security clearance are supposed to see. Mr. Hur told us on page 200 of his report that it's the kind of information that, quote, risk serious damage to America's national security. What did Joe Biden have to say about all this? What was his explanation? On page 94 of Mr. Hur's report, Joe Biden said he took his notebooks with him after his vice presidency because, quote, they're mine. And every president before me has done the same exact thing. Never mind the fact that he had never been president when he took this information. But what comes through is Joe Biden felt he was entitled. You can almost hear it. You can feel the arrogance in this statement. They're mine.
And that's who Joe Biden is. He is arrogant. He is self-absorbed. He's a how dare you question me kind of guy. And Merrick Garland Justice Department was never going to allow Robert Hur to charge Joe Biden. They have too much to lose, namely the presidential election to Donald Trump, to allow Biden's crimes, and they're crimes, to be lumped in as equal to Donald Trump's alleged crimes. Here's Robert Hur explaining why he did not charge Joe Biden. So I'm going to remember this strategy, by the way, when the FBI comes marching down the hallway here someday to take me away, which I fully expect they will, particularly if Biden wins re-election. And I'm just going to say, I don't remember. I don't remember anything. I don't think it'll work for me as well as it works for Democrats. Robert Hur had a job here. First of all, you go in, does he have classified documents? Yes, got a lot of them. They're all over the place. Here is a bit of the questioning this morning to Robert Hur about how many different places did Biden have classified documents. That's 7 locations, ladies and gentlemen. Remember when they told us, oh, he only had 6 documents. He had 7 locations where he had documents. So, okay, so that's box check number 1. Did he have classified documents he shouldn't have had? Yes. Was he ever president of the United States at the time he had these classified documents? Before he got these classified documents? No, he was not. Okay, so Trump has an argument Biden can't make. Trump's argument might be wrong. There's only one person who can declassify whatever he wants, and that's the president of the United States. Joe Biden had in 7 locations classified documents related to Afghanistan and other things, and he had no possible justification for having them. So box check number 1, did he have them? Yes. Now, number 2, part of the statute is, was there intent? Well, it's pretty hard when you have them in 7 places to say there's no intent. And it's pretty hard when you say, why did you have them? And the answer is, they're mine, not to have intent. So that's box check number 2. Now, I wasn't aware that you had to actually have like the mental acuity for it, to recall that you had it, for it to be part of the crime and the charging. But I suppose it makes sense that you can't put somebody, I mean, after all, what do some crazed murderers plead? Insanity, right? The fact that they say Biden is a well-meaning elderly man with a bad memory is essentially, in this case, a way of getting off by pleading insanity. It is. It's an insanity plea, not because Biden entered it, but because Robert Hur entered it. The Democrats wanted the first part, that he wasn't guilty. They don't want him to answer why isn't he guilty. He's just not guilty. They keep saying, oh, the very first line is he's not guilty. But then, as Hur said, I got to explain why he's not guilty. And the reason why he's not guilty is because he's a mush brain. Ian Sams, presidential bootlick.
Outrageous. What?
Oh, outrageous. None of whom he names. None of whom he names. Oh, it's an outrage. It's just an outrage to include the reason why you're not charging someone whose crimes are delineated throughout virtually every page of a 350-plus page document. Outrageous. You're just supposed to exonerate him. Why? Because he's Joe Biden. Because he's... I can't give you another answer other than he's a Democrat and they're never guilty of anything.
Breezy this afternoon and a bit warmer with partly sunny skies and a high 67.
To store classified documents.
Below 35.
Okay, so we got a former vice president who is established to have willfully, purposefully retained classified documents in order to highlight his political stature and show his stature as a presidential figure. We have a former vice president who stored classified documents in very unsecured places.
I don't think those
We have
exact
a
words
former
appear in the
vice
report,
president who will
Congressman, but to
not
the extent that
suffer any consequences
use
for
words
all of these
similar
actions.
to that effect
All because we
in
say,
my
well, he's a
assessment of how a
well-meaning,
jury
forgetful old
figure.
man.
And I'm asking
You
for
know,
yes or
if you're
no
kind of
because
a
our time is so
well-meaning,
limited.
forgetful
I believe
old
words to
man
that
that was
effect are in
driving
my
the car and
So the
you
answer
forgot what you
is
were
it
doing a
accurate to
little
say
bit,
that
and
any
you hit
written from
somebody and
President
killed them?
Biden,
the
I
extent
believe
that
you'd be
I
responsible.
use
The
words
law
similar to that
must
effect
apply. You
in
know
my
it.
assessment of how a jury would
The
perceive
standard
Mr.
behind
Biden and
the
the evidence
decision
relating
not
to
to
him, including his
prosecute Joe
testimony, I
Biden,
do stand by that assessment.
especially in light of special counsel Jack Smith's decision to prosecute President Trump for similar conduct.
So is it accurate to say that any written from President Biden obtained and disclosed classified materials as a means to bolster his image as a presidential figure? And I'm asking for yes or no's here because our time is so limited.
I believe words to that effect are in my report,
So
Congressman.
the answer is yes.
Would you agree that President Biden's intent to showcase his legacy provides a motive for his actions concerning classified materials? Yes or no?
It is one of the motives addressed in the report.
Yep, to showcase his legacy. Is it accurate to quote your report that classified documents were found in, quote, badly damaged boxes in his garage near a collapsed dog crate, a dog bed, a Zappos box, and an empty bucket? Is that correct?
Those words do appear in the report.
So that's correct. The answer is yes. Are these secure locations to store classified documents?
They are not.
Okay, so we got a former vice president who is established to have willfully, purposefully retained classified documents in order to highlight his political stature and show his stature as a presidential figure. We have a former vice president who stored classified documents in very unsecured places. We have a former vice president who will not suffer any consequences for all of these actions, all because we say, well, he's a well-meaning, forgetful old man. You know, if you were kind of a well-meaning, forgetful old man that was driving a car and you forgot what you were doing a little bit and you hit somebody and killed them, I believe you'd be responsible. The law must apply, you know this, to everyone. The standard behind the decision not to prosecute Joe Biden, especially in light of Special Counsel Jack Smith's decision to prosecute President Trump for similar
new benefit, my monthly online video get-together for Pragertopia Plus members only. For an hour each month, get an exclusive chance to ask me anything. I'll be answering your questions. I've never done this. Submit your questions for me at Pragertopia.com. This is our chance to connect like never before. Go to Pragertopia.com or click the banner at DennisPrager.com.
War has played a key role in the history of the United States, from the nation's founding right down to the present. Wars.
So is it accurate to say that in your interview, President Biden retained and disclosed classified materials?
Hi, I'm James Early, host of the Key Battles of American History podcast. In each episode, I discuss American history through the lens of the most important battles of America's wars. To start listening now, go to ParthenonPodcast.com or search Key Battles of American History on your favorite podcasting platform.
Yep, to showcase his legacy. Is it accurate to quote your report that classified documents were found in, quote?
My apologies for that. Let me remind you that the March 20th meeting at the Lazy Chameleon in Powell will feature Mike Gallagher, Jack Windsor, and myself, and we can't wait for it. It will be following the Ohio primary the day before, with the U.S. Senate seat contested between Bernie Moreno, Matt Dolan, and Frank LaRose decided. So we'll have a lot to talk about, and we can't wait to talk about it with you. You have to buy a ticket at 989theanswer.com. You'll get an appetizer, a buffet dinner, a dessert, a drink ticket, and you'll get the chance to ask questions in an intimate gathering. I think at last count, we were right around 100 people. So nobody didn't buy a ticket is going to be there. I've heard from many of you that you're coming. I can't wait to see you. So go to 989theanswer.com with Mike Gallagher, Bruce Hooley, and Jack Windsor at the Lazy Chameleon on March the 20th. So you might have heard, as I was getting ready to talk about our evening March 20th at the Lazy Chameleon, a bit of the latest testimony at House Judiciary with Robert Hur, the special counsel, who said that, yeah, Joe Biden had classified documents and we just can't prosecute him because, A, my boss won't let me. No, that's not why he said he wouldn't prosecute Joe Biden, but that's essentially why. They were never going to prosecute Joe Biden. They were never going to put Joe Biden on equal footing with Donald Trump, because Trump, of course, is evil. Trump is a threat to democracy, and Trump is going to ruin the country and will be the last election we ever hold, and all the other histrionics that they talk about. But here is Jeff Van Drew talking with Robert Hur. Jeff Van Drew is a Republican congressman from New Jersey. Pretty convincing line of questioning from my perspective.
figure. We have a former vice president who stored classified documents in very unsecured places. We have a former vice president who will not suffer any consequences for all of these actions, all because we say, well, he's a well-meaning, forgetful old man. You know, if you were kind of a well-meaning, forgetful old man that was driving a car and you forgot what you were doing a little bit and you hit somebody and killed them, I believe you'd be responsible.
I believe you would be too. And we all know you would be, because we have a thing in this country called equal protection under the law. But it's not being applied in this case with Joe Biden's classified documents, and it won't be, because they are terrified of Donald Trump becoming president again. They became so arrogant during Obama's second term that they thought they'd never lose another election. Hillary Clinton destroyed emails. She ordered or destroyed herself phones that were able to provide evidence about her own lack of stewardship of classified material. Did anything happen to her? No. Will anything happen to Biden? No. Yet Trump is facing, as they love to tell you, like 94 felony counts or whatever it is. Now, the difficulty in the Republican side of the aisle has in trying to highlight this disparity is that the people who shape opinions, most of whom are inclined to be terrified of Trump as well, further the Democratic initiative on everything. So Republicans today have to be careful, have to stay on topic. Here is Trey Gowdy, one of my favorite commentators. I wish he was still in Congress, but he isn't, talking about Robert Hur and the inconsistency contained within the same pages of Hur's report. Yeah. Now, are they capable of making hay off of that, or are they capable of screwing it up? Yes and yes. Here's Trey Gowdy on that particular topic. Yeah, and that's exactly what it's been so far. The Democrats don't even address the report with Robert Hur. They go off on rants about Trump, and they ask Hur to compare what Biden did to what Trump is alleged to have done. That is where this has been. A lot of finger wagging, a lot of scolding, a lot of you're in the pocket of the Republicans. You are a Republican. That's what it's deteriorated into. As I said yesterday, I was addressing this yesterday. We had Joe Biden forced to talk about the murder of Laken Riley in the State of the Union. And he referred to the person who was most likely her murderer as an illegal. And then he went on MSNBC and had to apologize for using the term about someone who likely murdered an innocent young woman. He had to apologize for using the term illegal. And I said that's a demonstration of the fact that we have decided to completely de-emphasize what is true and overemphasize what we want. We can't admit anything that is a mistake or is wrong. I'll say it more plainly, is wrong, because the cost of admitting the wrong is deemed to be too great because of the consequences of what happens. And when we get away from consequences for actions, we end up with what? A whole array of dysfunction. We see it play out in our government. We see it play out in our cities with crime. Why do we have a huge crime problem in Columbus? Because there are no consequences for actions. So it's a lost cause today with Robert Hur in front of Congress, and it's a lost cause in this upcoming election, and I'll demonstrate why on the other side of the news.
Retirement is no small task. If you don't know where to start, join Rodney Peters of Peters Wealth Group every Saturday at 10 and 2 for Retire Ready Ohio. Rodney shares helpful tips and strategies
and
just
their
might
story
change the course
is a story that so many of us know
Listen every
for our
Saturday at 10 and
constituents.
2.
It's the
Retire Ready
story
Ohio
of America.
with Rodney Peters,
It's a story
Peters
that
Wealth Group.
Oh, I think I'll turn the mute button on when Eric Swalwell's up there. Somebody who slept with a Chinese spy and is still in Congress. Hope you guys have a good day. It's one of those days where the flaws of the system are on full display, which is depressing if we let it depress us. I hope you don't. Find a reason to smile. Find a reason to believe. And I hope you have a good day. Take care.
That's 989theanswer.com.